chill.
Hello there, gang, and welcome to another episode of Displaying Model Behaviour, the Earth's mightiest action figure video podcast. So take off your pants, crack a beer, and let's talk toys. Let's talk about the Bone Breaker wave. You know how you'll sometimes just go down to the pub and hang out with your mates and talk about the latest Marvel Legends wave? No, me either, because I don't have any mates down the pub who collect Marvel Legends. I don't have any mates who go to the pub. I don't have many mates, actually. Well, I do, to be fair, but they're all kind of scattered around the world, and this is not a good time in life to have friends who are on different continents, because it's not easy to facilitate meeting up to talk about Legends, so that's why we're going to do it on here. So the Bone Breaker wave, we've had all the pictures up now. We've seen them in boxes, so we know what they're coming with, we know how they're going to be presented, so let's talk about which ones are the duds and which ones are the buds. The buds and the duds. That kind of works. I'll workshop that. First of all, let's talk about Wolverine. Wolverine is going to be one of the ones that I'm actually most looking forward to, which might sound ridiculous because, oh my god, it's Tiger Stripe Wolverine. We don't have 10,000 of those. But yeah, all I'm saying is we could always have one more. Because this one, he just jumps out at me because he's that little bit different. I know we've got the Apocalypse Wave Wolverine. I know we've got the Love Triangle Wolverine. But this one is just different enough to pique my interest. First of all, he's lost the blue pants. He's got different sort of piping that makes up for that negative space. Then, I don't want to shock you, alright? But his shoulder pads are black. I know, calm down. But look, it might sound like a silly thing to get kind of excited about, but I like that it just changes up the color scheme a bit. It breaks up the yellow and blue and it makes him more interesting to look at, and I dig that. I think it looks sexy. They've put that in front of like a fashion designer and he's like, we need more color in here. And speaking of color, he's got the fire claws. Now, when I first saw the fire claws in the comics, I was like, well, that's a stupid idea. And now when I see them on the action figure, I think, well, that's a stupid idea. Because it is. But visually, they look really cool. Because it's not like he's got flames coming off of them or anything. The idea is they just get hotter. And I don't think he has that anymore. They were introduced when they kind of resurrected Wolverine after the death of Wolverine storyline. And he had fire claws. For whatever reason, I can't remember. But just as an action figure, I think it just looks pretty. It looks really interesting. And visually, headcanon, I'm going to have him fighting the Sentinel. So it makes sense that like maybe his claws were blasted by the Sentinel's laser and that just superheated them. I think that's pretty awesome. So I love the visual design that we have going on here. It just looks cool. And then we got a different head. And you know me. I love my different head sculpts, and this one is a fun one, I think. Stop me if I'm wrong, I know you will. But I think it's the head sculpt from the Wolverine 5-pack. And let's face it, I ain't ever buying that. So it's nice to get this head in a different form. So I will definitely be displaying him with the mask, but I like to have my options. And this with the rah looking Wolverine, it's a good looking head. Now, a negative point for this is that other hands. Where are they? Of all the different figures that actually warrant having two sets of hands, it's Wolverine. He should have popped claws and non-popped claws. The fact that you can only have him with his claws out, I call shenanigans on that. Especially because he doesn't come with a Build-A-Figure piece. So if he ain't coming with a Build-A-Figure piece, Hasbro, then where's that extra money in space going, huh? Going nowhere. It's going into your pockets in the form of our money. Yeah, that's what it's doing. I'm calling you out right here, right now for that. Big man over here. So it's a shame that he doesn't have other hands, but also, is it worth complaining considering that I would only ever pose him with his fire claws? Yes, because it's fun to complain about stuff, but nonetheless, this is a figure that I'm genuinely looking forward to. Now we've got ourselves Havok, and Havok is a mixed bag, but the good, I think, will outweigh the not even bad, just less good, I suppose. And that is the fact that his swirly-whirly power effects, oh, they look pretty. Oh my goodness. When I first thought he was just going to have the hand ones, I was like, yeah, it's fine. And then I saw all the extra stuff you can have behind him, and I suddenly realized, oh baby, this is going to pop off the shelf big time. And now I'm thinking, I guess maybe I need a Havok, which is kind of annoying because I'm trying to limit my X-Men collection to just the Jim Lee core team, and now they go and bring out this guy, and I'm thinking, golly, he looks pretty, and often a pretty figure will override my compulsion to keep things nice and small and contained, and this might do it. If only! If only he had a decent-looking head sculpt, but no, he's got the plain Jane, nothing going on up there, flat-faced, I'm bored kind of look. And that's such a pity because he's got all of his power effects going on. Like, he's clearly juicing up, ready to unleash some havoc, baby! And the face is like, your tax return is due at the end of the month. It's like, come on, Hasbro. Also, his name's Havok. Like, his name is like Havoc, Chaos, Craziness. Accountant. Such a shame. So that's a real pity. If anything, you should have a face that's like, rah! And I know that a lot of people do enjoy arranging their figures like, you know, the high school yearbook photo kind of thing, which is kind of cool. But then give us an option, come on. And if you're not going to give us an option, give us the more fun-looking one so we can put him in a dynamic pose. Whereas here he just looks nonplussed. Then also, I think he doesn't come with any other hands or anything. So that's kind of, I will forgive that. I will allow it. Hasbro, you're lucky. You don't even need to beg for forgiveness from the action figure gods of model behavior. Because the hands, I will substitute the extra hands for the awesome power effects. So I'm going to give this figure a thumbs up. I'm looking forward to him. Even though the head is disappointing, the hands and the powers, or, well, not the hands, but just the powers, they make up for it, making him a figure that I'm excited to add to the collection. Speaking of mixed bags, we have what has come to be known as the Willem Dafoe Sabertooth. Look at crazy looking Willem Dafoe and tell me that's not what that face is modelled on. And Sabertooth, this is his absolute first appearance look, or at least it's what it seems to be based off of. It's not a perfect representation, but this is when he first popped up fighting Iron Fist, of all people actually. It wasn't Wolverine where he first appeared, it was Iron Fist that he was mixing it up with. And this is a good representation of that look. He's a little bit smaller, a little bit more lean and lithe. Sorry, I was trying to stifle a hiccup there. I think I managed it. So, the big bone of contention, which kind of the door swings both ways on this, like in Ghostbusters. The face. Now, I love the fact that they've gone crazy with the face. I like crazy eyes. I like maniacal expressions. I like something different that tells a story visually with this palette we've got here. The only problem is that, is it a good face? I like the fact it's animated, but I think what sort of sticks out at me that might be different when I get him in hand is the teeth. There's a lot of teeth going on here, you know, and too much gums, too much teeth and gums. I don't know if you have it in the States, but we have like these little jelly sweets that we can get in like pick and mix, and that's what his teeth and gums look like. Just this huge big thing stuck on the front here. So I'm thinking, I'm not too sure. Hopefully in 3 dimensions in hand, he'll look better. But right now, I love the big manic eyes and the crazy expression, but I don't know if it actually comes together to make a good-looking figure. Time's gonna tell on that one. But I tell you what, I like his like fingerless gloves and his toes sticking out of the boots, all that kind of thing. That makes him different to your average Sabertooth. I think a lot of people are still looking forward to hopefully getting a big animated series, hulking kind of Sabertooth, but maybe in time. In the meantime, this one looks okay, but just okay. Again, no other accessories. We're just getting the bath pieces, which again is sort of like, okay, I guess, but when I'm talking about the head, it would have been nice to have had a different head. Or maybe, you know what, if you wanted to, if you didn't mind mixing things up, you could always stick the other Age of Apocalypse head on or something. But then again, that would probably be too big for him, actually, so that probably wouldn't be a good idea. He'd look really weird. So yeah, some more posing accessories would have been nice, but what we've got is, I would say, adequate. Begorra, and now we got ourselves a little Siren figure, and I gotta tell you that the Siren figure to my eye, she looks alright. However, laddie, some people have been saying that she's not everything that we could have been hoping for, and I'm gonna tell you why. You know what, I wasn't planning to do an Irish accent there, I just started riffing with it, and honestly, I think that turned out okay. I am like quarter Irish, so I should have some kind of affinity for doing the accent. There's some Irish people watching this going, it don't sound Irish to my ear, I don't know where it's supposed to be from. Actually, let me know if you are Irish. Was that a good Irish accent? It might have been terrible. But I digress. Siren, I think she looks pretty. I think she looks good. I mean, just the fact that they've done a female face that I think is a good-looking, decent female face, that in itself is a win. That's a victory. Well done, Hasbro. Boom! You're going to get my money for that one. However, a lot of folks are also saying that they're not happy about 2 points. All right? First of all, some folks are saying the costume isn't accurate. Now, I don't know enough about Siren to tell you whether it's accurate or not. I think maybe they're referring to her being a part of like the Jim Lee kind of era team. Apparently that's not the way it should be. I honestly don't know, so I'm not going to say yes or no. Although if folks are saying it, I assume it's right. I mean, I read it on the internet, so it must be right. But to my eye, the costume looks nice. I like the Storm style cape there, even though I ripped my Storm cape, so I'm going to have to be careful with her in that regard, not the big clumsy oaf that I actually am. But the biggest bone of contention though is, and this is a big one, the head sculpt. Her name is Siren. She's got the powers, the screaming. Why is she not screaming? Why is the woman not screaming? Said the psychopath. But I love that in this hobby we use the same words that really only get used by serial killers. I say things like, well, I managed to remove the hair from the head, and then I've put the hands in this box, and then I took off the legs and I put the legs in that box. Don't worry, I'm just talking about action figures. So Siren doesn't have a screaming power head, and that's a real shame. Again, she's perfectly well suited to the class photo, but that's it. Where's the hair flowing in the air and the screaming rah, Siren kind of face? That would have made a lot more sense, I feel. So she's a good neutral pose figure, but that's about it. The body, double thumbs up, because that's the new female buck with the double jointed elbows and all that good stuff going on. But it's just a shame that they didn't have more fun with what could have been a great looking, exciting character. It seems they just went for the kind of vanilla option all round. And honestly, I like vanilla, but I'd like to put some sprinkles and sauce on top, if you know what I'm saying. And actually, to be fair, I need to walk back a previous statement a little bit. Her hair is quite animated and blowing in the wind, so I was focused so much on the kind of plain but still nice face that actually the hair does look okay. She also comes with different hands, which is fine. Like, I was complaining before about not getting extra hands, so it's good to get the hands, although she's not someone who, like, desperately needs extra hands. It's funny, Wolverine doesn't get extra hands and he kind of needs them, and she does, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess it's nice to have the option. But still, even though it's a shame she doesn't have the screaming face, the smile, the expression, I think, is really nice. So again, on the whole, double thumbs up for, no, 1.5 thumbs up for this one. Now we got Darwin, and I gotta tell you, this action figure could star in a TV show called Action Figures I Don't Care About. Thank you, Office. It is what it is. I mean, this is one of those figures where it could kind of like Professor X from the House of X-Wave. It's so basic and boring that people could go like, hey, this is a basic, boring figure. But the counter argument to that is like, yeah, but this is what he looks like in the comics. So what do you want? And honestly, I don't know much about Darwin at all. Like, really, I had to Google his picture when I first heard him announced, and I was like, oh, that's Darwin. That's not going to be a very exciting looking figure. And then we saw the figure and it was like, yep, called it. It's just, there's not really much going on there. But then the fact that they also didn't do anything to zhuzh him up in any way. The face sculpt looks good, like it's a well sculpted face. But again, totally plain, neutral expression. And I don't even know anything about Darwin. Is he an emotional guy? Is he very stoic? I'm guessing from this face sculpt, he is just a very stoic, Dr. Spock kind of character. There's just not much going on there, so there's not much they can do. I'm giving Hasbro the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say maybe your hands are tied. You couldn't do anything else with him. He is what he is. And I guess that his powers don't really lend themselves to any effects or anything. This is the least... Oh, actually, is he the least interesting figure? I don't know. We're going to be discussing that. But there's nothing to get excited about. I think that the head sculpt looks pretty. Pretty design, you know what I mean? Attention and care has gone into it, but it's been a lot of attention and care in making something that's not very interesting. So honestly, this dude, I think he's going to be warming pegs for a long time. At least he's got an extra pair of hands to choose from. So you got the fists or the coming to get you kind of hands. He looks kind of creepy. I mean, with that very alien looking face, that can be quite an effective figure to pose, I suppose. So there's some ideas there, but on the whole, yeah, the excitement is not registering. But now we've got one that I can get excited about, and that is Maggot. Such a wonderfully obscure character, but one that actually resonates a lot with me, because he came out when I was still really into the X-Men. And the X-Men getting a new member, a new person, that was a big deal then. It was like, who are the new there were going to be 2 characters Marvel were hyping up. 2 new people are going to join the X-Men. And this is still when they have a very core Jim Lee X-Men 92 cartoon type team. So 2 new people joining, it was like a big deal. And then we get introduced to Maggot and we're like, what? But he looks visually striking, and they've done that with this figure. He looks really good. First of all, apparently it's like based on the Hercules buck. There's some Hercules reuse, and I am all for that because that's a big figure and I want a big chunky figure, because Maggot was often drawn very differently depending on what the artist was doing, and also I think what his powers were doing, because I think like physically he would get very emaciated, and then the maggots would like eat something and he would like get all roided up. So that's kind of cool that he's in his big blue roidy Magoo sort of look. That kind of rhymed, I like that. Big blue roidy Magoo. That's definitely going to be the subtitle for his review. So yeah, I'm really happy with the huge trench coat as well, and the colourful pants and the big smiling face. I dig it. Some people have said they don't really like the smiling face that much, but that's how I think of Maggot. I first think of how he was depicted by Joe Madureira, and that was the big sort of grinning expression, so I really, really love that. I'm looking forward to having, you know what I love, big, bright, colourful. We've got that here with Maggot. Then with the huge, big Maggot accessories you can have on him. The power is stupid. The concept of the character is dumb, but I don't mind because it looks fun, and sometimes fun and dumb come together in a beautiful explosion of nonsense. That's pretty much what this show is, so I'm not going to knock it. So Maggot, he's probably the #1 character that I'm most looking forward to from this wave. Then the last main figure we have is Vulcan, and Vulcan, I got nothing. He's the third Summers brother, and that's really all I know about the character. So I would need to have some emotional investment in order to get excited about him, because just looking at the figure, that does nothing for me. It's just a dude. There's nothing else that comes with him, no other power effects. I mean, this is the first use of the Vulcan body. This is what's hopefully, probably, possibly going to be like the new standard Bucky cap, essentially, going forward. This is your main figure type that most other figures are going to be repainted onto. So it's going to be interesting to see how it looks, how it poses, how it holds up. So Vulcan's going to be really interesting in that regard. Or maybe the only regard, because again, I'm sure if you love the character, then it's like, oh great, awesome, Vulcan, he can go with the other 2 Summers brothers, fantastic. But for me, it's like, it's a dude with black hair. That's all I can tell you. So the fact that there are no other power effects or anything like that doesn't do anything for me. Nothing to get excited about. Nothing to write home to mother about. But still, the face sculpt looks fine. But again, nothing dramatic or exciting. So really, I feel like, you know, he's might be next to Darwin with the peg warmers of like, you're gonna either buy him because you're a big time X-Men fan who's really into it and you want that Vulcan to complete that Summers family. But besides that, but other than the Bath piece, I don't see many folks getting too worked up over this. But hey, prove me wrong, universe. Prove me wrong. Literally everyone does all the time, so it wouldn't be a novelty. And finally, we've got Bonebreaker, and I'm so torn about this. I just don't know. I just don't know. It looks like a figure of 2 halves. I think the upper body, like, that looks cool. It looks fun. Double thumbs up, Hasbro. You gave him such an animated, ridiculous, goofy expression. This is a dude who's been cut off below the waist and has a tank where his junk should be. I would be miserable. But he's loving life. He loves the fact he has caterpillar tracks for a dick. More power to you, bud. So I love the big, goofy expression. He is someone who gets a lot of enjoyment out of his life. I kind of dig that. So the body, the upper torso is super cool, actually. I love the fact you can raise and lower his glasses. They did a really good marketing job having that image of him being like, hey, I'm Bone Breaker, bitches! I think that's cool. Then with the extra guns and stuff, the detail on the torso, that's a lot of fun. But then we get to the actual tank tread bit, and I'm like, see, this is such a shame because I think visually as a toyetic thing, that's just cool. It's so stupid. It's a lot of fun. But there's so much green plastic. It feels, dare I say, to look at, looks like a Happy Meal toy. You know, it looks like something you would have got with a Big Mac and fries in the 80s before plastic was insanely expensive. And that's what kind of puts me off from this. Again, I'm hoping, like so many things, that in hand, it's going to be like, oh no, this is nice, I was wrong. And let's face it, if there was some sort of like algorithm search for I was wrong on this channel, it would bring up about 10,000 videos. I seem to say that a lot. But in all the pictures, I'm like, it just looks like a big hunk of cheap plastic, you know? So I don't want that to be the case, but I can't get excited about that because it just doesn't look like there's the love and attention and paintwork and details and nuances that maybe you would find with other, dare I say, similarly priced figures. You know, some of those nice little McFarlane paint jobs, I think that tank would have benefited from that. To give it some depth and some style, make it look like a real actual piece of working machinery rather than something that was just, you know, produced in a plastic mold. There it is. So it's a real figure of two halves, but hopefully the stronger elements will make him a great addition. And the main thing is, he might look a bit average on his own, but then you put, what is his name? Reese and Skullbuster, and then Lady Deathstrike under the whole group. You got a whole bunch of Reavers. All of a sudden, he might start to look a whole lot cooler. So I'm going to reserve judgment on that. There's my initial thoughts, but are they going to live up or down to expectations? We're going to find out. And folks, that does it for my pre-review ramble about the Bone Breaker wave. I hope you enjoyed this. This is kind of a very speculative sort of video, and I wanted to recreate that, like sitting down at the pub and talking about action figures, something that I've never done in my life, but we can do it here, so that's kind of fun. So guys, thanks very much for watching, and until next time, keep displaying model behavior.
If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons. And most importantly, subscribe, that is the most important thing. But also, if you want to go one step beyond in supporting the channel, then you can do by going over to patreon.com/displaying model behavior and throw some money Dave's way so that he doesn't have to come to me asking for an advance. Advances. So you can join all these wonderful people over here who get to enjoy all the exclusive videos over on Patreon. Plus, if you don't want to look like an idiot, then why not wear a Model Behavior t-shirt? The link to purchase them is in the description below. This finger-pointing hand is really useful. Anyway, that's all the plugs. Now get back to work. Jameson Man does whatever Jameson can.